You should be. How about that?
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We continue with our series of companies visiting, trying to recruit you guys. We have a newcomer business, T2 Utility from South Florida. We have a graduate from our program and with the 26 or 05. Yes, I know him also. And he came back on. He came back and taught taught the AutoCAD class because we need some help in that time. Appreciate of that. But we like to hear about how you moved from when you graduated from the program, and also what's your business operation, the type of job opportunities, co-op opportunities, and I see you brought food for them. Thank you, appreciate it very much. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, again, I appreciate you guys hosting me here and letting me come and speak to you for a little bit. And feel free to continue to eat. And if you don't eat it, I have to take it back. So eat it. But as Dr. Rambrook said, T2 Utility Engineers. My name is Byron Faircloth. I'm the branch manager in Chipley, Florida. If you know a little bit about the panhandle of Florida, so we take 167 and go straight south. Down there, it turns into State Road 79 in Florida, which takes you to Panama City Beach. So people know that route. Well, Chipley is just 8 miles from that point when you cross the state line. So you go through Bonifay, and I actually live in Bonifay, but our branch office, which we're having built out right now, is in Chipley. The reason behind the building in Chipley, it's a small town relative to most towns, is the Department of Transportation of Florida, the district office is there, which covers from Pensacola all the way over to the other side of Tallahassee. So that whole region of the Panhandle District 3 is there, and that's our primary client. Now, Daryl T, that's how you say his name out there, we call him Mr. T. He is over the southeast region, so he is my boss man. So he's also in Florida, but he's in Lake City. You know where Lake City is, just north of Gainesville. That's where he's at. Now, don't let the name scare you with the engineers. We don't like engineers, but yeah, we do. Engineers, but utility usually catches people off guard. They're like, I don't know if I want to work for a utility company. We're not a utility company, and we're not really engineers. We do have engineers on board. We're primarily surveyors in our group. What we're doing is we are doing subsurface work and utility engineering. We do a lot of what we call level B designates with a GPR, which I'll show you some stuff, and the toning equipment. But of course, we come and survey that information from a 3D perspective, but then we also do the traditional land surveying and things of that nature. Working our way through. In the U.S., 300 people in 27 offices. When you combine the U.S. and Canada, we have 400 people in 30 plus offices. You know, here we are, Chipley, here you are, Troy. But we do a lot of work through here is where I'm dealing with, and then up around Norcross, Georgia. There kind of gives you a perspective of where we're at, what we're doing, what we're covered. We're based up, well, I'll show you a little bit too. We're in 3 different regions. Who we work for. Says on average we work for over 1,800 projects with 400 clients, includes transportation, water, wastewater, utilities, which are our top market sectors, but state Department of Transportation, utility companies, port authorities, airports, obviously engineering firms, and the list goes on and on. Here we go. Who hires us? Engineering consulting firms. A lot of times we're not the prime, what we call the prime consulting firm. We are a sub-consultant to a prime engineering firm, and we're teaming up with them and winning work and then getting work done that way. So governments, utility companies again, local governments, small municipality work, and then the other stuff out there on the edge and the fringe. T2, how do we get the name T2? It's kind of difficult to explain, but it started out as Tampa Bay Engineering, TBE, in the early 90s. We were acquired by CardNode, became CardNode TBE, then we dropped the TBE and became CardNode, and then it demerged from CardNode and we became T2 Utility Engineers. The T2 has to do with the Canada versus the US firms and the name that was already in place. So they took the T2 Utility Engineers name. UES, Utility Engineering Services, is a big part of what we do. More so in the West Division and the Northern Division, as well as Canada. A lot more utility engineering going on there, but survey and utility coordination. I don't know if y'all are familiar with utility coordination, but basically when you build out a job, when an engineering firm plans out and designs out a job, and they get ready to build out the job, there's all these utilities, either above ground or underground, and somebody's got to make, a clear line of path for those. How do we move them? Where we move them? What's the most efficient schedule and cost? So that's utility coordination. All those things are open to whoever comes to work for us. You can taste them all and see which one tastes the best. In business for over 30 years, so we've got a little bit of a legacy going here. Again, offices in the U.S. and Canada. I told you we are in the north, south, that's us, and the west. And you can see our south business units, which I kind of hit on before: Norcross, Baton Rouge, Altamont, which is around Orlando, Fort Myers, way down at the southern tip of Florida, Jacksonville, Lake City, Tampa, somehow on there, but they're here. So you can see the people's names in charge of those. A lot of PSMs. We got a couple of PEs in the group right there that's running the offices. But that kind of breaks it out what the southeast region is and the offices we have currently. Continuing on, we cover 9 state offices, 82 staff, 2 engineers, 8 professional surveyors, and 4 SITs are on board right now. Kind of talk about a little bit more of the overview of services that we provide. You look at all this stuff, it looks like the same stuff you probably see here in the program as well as everybody else comes up here. We've got mobile LiDAR and photogrammetry capabilities. We're doing the hydro stuff out in the water. We've got robotic units. We've got static terrestrial scanners. This right here is a GPR unit. They've got a GPS RTK unit on there to track that information. They're ones being pulled behind a vehicle. But all the standard stuff, we've got it. We start up in the forefront of the technology side of things. Kind of what we do, roadway design surveys. So this is a shaded DTM model, a 10 triangulated regular network. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. This is of a road intersection on I-95 in Jacksonville at another major road intersection, which I believe this road right here was State Road 5. But we're currently on a project right now, and this is just a small little sample of a DTM that we did, full 3D survey. We do a ton of these. This is the bread and butter of what we do, collecting the surface as well as the subsurface information. You can't see it here, but we would also collect, obviously the baseline and the right-of-ways, any private parcels that are going to need acquiring from the Department of Transportation for building and widening this road, which this job is. But roadway design surveys, heavy into that type of work. Boundary surveys, most of the time, most of these right-of-way surveys or design surveys have a boundary component. We're not necessarily doing boundary surveys, but we are recovering the boundaries. So we do a lot of boundary surveys. This one right here is for the Department of Environmental Protection. And I don't know if you can count up all those sections of land, but there's a lot of sections of land. Every one of those squares is a section. We decided all those, broke that down for the state for theirs. Right-of-way mapping. This is a typical right-of-way map that we do for DOT. That same roadway we were looking at, mapping that roadway, showing the right-of-ways and any acquisition that we made. This was actually a old Georgia Southern Railroad, but the state is transitioning. It was decommissioned. The rails were gone, but the state of Florida is buying and building Georgia Southern Company and making it what they call a trail, a scenic trail. So we surveyed that, a lot of history there. I think we were looking at these from the late 1800s, all handwritten stuff. So it was pretty neat to look at the history of that. Scan projects. This is one of our static terrestrial scan projects. Of course, you see the point out with the surface. But ramp up, I may have to have you. I need to get the play button on here. It'll be down here in the. Just to kind of give you an idea of how we bring it all together. This little fly through here will show you, of course, the surface, which we would extract. But then you see where the underground utilities have been modeled. And a lot of times that is going to eventually go into a GIS, but at this point it was at least going to go to the designer so they can design whatever new utilities are coming in and going underground so we don't disturb what is existing. So it's just a little fly through right there to show you kind of how it all ties together and how we try to merge it all in one consolidated database. Used to we try to segregate the data, and some clients still want you to segregate the data for particular reasons, but we still like to try to have one overall database that has it all combined, so if you dip back in that pot, you know where to go to get it.
So the underground one, we look at it from the subsurface mapping.
True, we would have used a combination of toning equipment, you know, there's wiring or something, so we can tone and sense it. GPR, same way, and then we obviously get a vacuum truck when we need to into a test hole, we'll expose the line and go down there and get an actual elevation so we can map this thing accurately. Another situation is at a school site that was having some utilities installed there, same situation, modeling those utilities. Of course, you can go in there and attribute, you know, if it's a 6-inch PVC sewer line or whatever, or a 4-inch water line, you know, we'd go in there and attribute that data, and they would take it and move it from there. What we do a little bit more, so just to give you a quick view. So this is another instance right here where we have what we call a BLK 360. It's a Leica scanner. It goes on an inverted tripod. We let it down into the manhole. We take the manhole lid off, put it down in the manhole, do a 3D scan of the structure there so we can map not only the pipes coming in and the inverts, but we can map the whole structure, because a lot of these right-of-ways we're doing are very tight corridor. You take like a Jacksonville, which is the most populated city in the state of Florida, and so there's a lot of people and a lot of utilities in those narrow corridors, so it takes very critical analysis of putting the information in. So scanning and putting that data in is what we do. Yeah, there's that GPR system right there that's going to be mapping those underground utilities with the RTK just being pulled behind the vehicle. So it's a form of mobile mapping that you can see. It's just not a LiDAR scan. Some of this other stuff is more utility-based, different levels of utilities that we survey. This is where, you know, what we call, we pothole, we expose the utility in that sidewalk, survey the location, the actual location, and then reseal the concrete there. Real quick overview of what we do, and I didn't want to bore you with all that details because I know most of you probably know a lot about surveying right now. Try to talk to you a little bit more about who I am and what we do and what we can offer you. As I said before, and Dr. Rambert was saying, 2005 graduated of the Troy program here. Did come back and teach a little bit of the AutoCAD for a semester there. Went to work when I left here. You know, I went to work for, at that time it was called Allen Nobles and Associates, transition to Nobles Consulting. Then they got acquired by SAM. You know, I've seen that SAM is out there, y'all probably are familiar with them. Left there and went to work for a company called Hatchmont McDonald, a global company. More engineering and surveying, but a big surveying component. Stayed there for 13 years. Left there, went to the state of Florida Department of Transportation and was the district surveyor for the department of that District 3 from Pensacola to the other side of Tallahassee. State work may be, you know, a state employee may fit your idea of the way you want to work. Didn't fit the idea of the way I wanted to work. A little slower pace than what I like to be, so I transitioned out from the state to this current position I'm at with T2 Utility Engineers. I've been here for going on 4 years now. It's a good place to work. Why is it a good place to work? Does it pay good money? Yeah, it pays more money than any place I've ever worked before. It's really good money. Am I able to work remotely? Yeah, we offer that capability. I mean, that's the new way, right? Ever since COVID, as bad as it was, there were some good things that come out of it. It's hard to think of it that way, but one way is remote work. You know, I work from my house right now. We're building out that office in Shipley. Obviously, there'll be a little bit of transition there, but we offer that capability to anybody, particularly office personnel, to be able to work remotely. If you can get the job done from your home, if you can be communicative, responsive, and at the end of the day, nobody's waiting on you to get things done, you can do the job. We have that opportunity. We have SIT opportunities right now. I mean, obviously there's work throughout the state, plenty of work throughout the country. Those opportunities are there. You know, co-ops are important. If you wanted to co-op with us, whether it be for a week or summer or whatever the case may be, we have co-op opportunities. Obviously, we put you up. If you're your work is out of town, obviously it'd be out of town for you, but if it's out of town from a local office or with an office, we can put you up in a hotel, you get per diem, we maintain you there, we get you what you need to do. We put you with people who are responsible that you can trust and feel good about working with. And so you get to experience that. So co-op opportunities are there. And, we have some programs as well to where, you can get some of your tuition reimbursed. They're on these brochures here. It's all about, being willing to sign on with the company and then give up some longevity there. But those opportunities are there as well. And so just thinking through things that might be on your mind. I mean, question and answer time. Any type of questions you have for us about what we do or what we can offer.
Do you guys have any GIS opportunities?
We do, more GIS based in our western division and our northern division, but we oftentimes are getting requests for a GIS component to the contract we're pursuing. And a lot of times it's somewhat sub-consulted out or farmed out to someone else. So, yes, we're looking to expand and grow. Not only do we want to grow the company, we want to grow the individuals and the employees. So, and I would say that too, I should have hit on that a little bit better too, is, we want to generate a culture that not only makes us money as a company, but obviously makes you money, but makes you happy. And that's giving you a team that you are confident in, that, they're in it with you. Nobody's just dumping any work on you and saying, hey, I need this done by the end of the day, don't bother me till it's done. One of the ways we do to get that done is in the morning, every morning, because we do have people sitting in local offices, but we have people sitting in remote locations like myself. Every morning we'll have a quick Teams call. That we try to keep it less than 30 minutes because we don't want it to be a snooze fest. But we keep it a brief call, but everybody gets an opportunity to say, hey, this is what I worked on yesterday, this is what I'm working on today. I'm having issues, or I'm not having issues, everything's going good. And so we kind of move from there, and then all throughout the day we try to stay very informative one to another about how we can help each other out. Maybe somebody's having a software issue and saying, hey, I've never seen this happen before, or how do you do this procedure? And so it's kind of a way that we share that load. So opportunities to grow, training, that's always there. We pay for training. We pay for continuing education credits. That's pretty well, if it's benefiting you and it's benefiting the company especially, we're going to pay for it. So, that's there. But GIS is definitely something we're willing to grow into. We're glad to talk to you about where you would like to work, what you would like to do. Absolutely. Any other questions? Somebody's going to, don't be bashful. Everybody wants to know what you're going to get paid, right? Everybody knows what you're going to get paid. Okay, here's how we base what we pay you off of. For the most part, it's a standard. I mean, anywhere you work, or anywhere you play, let's think about sports, right? You get paid, one, by what the standard is, and then how much better you are than everybody else is how you get paid. So if you come in and you say, I've graduated the program, I've done a few co-ops, I've got a little survey knowledge, we take that into account. If you come in and you say, hey, I worked in surveying for years before I came into the program, and now I've graduated the program, that matters. But really what drives home is, I told y'all earlier that one of our key clients is the Department of Transportation, the Florida Department of Transportation primarily. If you can go, anybody can go, this is free to all. You can go and they have work classifications. Like for me, I'm classified as Senior Surveyor 1 by the department's classification. That means that I have X amount of years post-licensure experience on DOT projects. Maybe some of y'all would be a Survey Analyst 2 or 3, and that would mean that you have X amount of years doing technician work or field office technician work on DOT projects. What they do is they say, hey, everybody has to submit a package to DOT when you win a project. And it says, I've got 20 employees, here's their experience, and here's what we pay them. Well, the state consolidates all that information into one, and that's how they negotiate rates back to us. And so then this website, which is a wage rate analysis, you can go on there and say, hey, I've got X amount of years experience. I would be qualified at this. What does the state say that the consultant can get paid? And they'll give you a range, and it'll usually be about plus or minus $10. So you can say $30 an hour or $40 an hour. And if you match that when you come looking for a job for us, that's what we're going to pay you, because that's what we can bill you out as. What we can bill you for is what we'll pay you for. And I hope that makes sense to you. It's like, if nobody's buying it, I can't sell it. But if they're paying it, then we're paying you that. And so that, we're going to be competitive with everybody else. If somebody come up here and told you they pay $60,000 a year, then we're going to be there, because that's obviously there's some client somewhere is paying that, so you can get paid that, and so we pay it. But it's real cut and dry that way. I mean, obviously there's some fringe things on there about who you are, what you bring to the table. It probably adds to that. But we're very competitive. Like I said, this company I work for now, I'll give you a rundown. I'm not gonna give you too much of my personal experience, so I'm gonna give you just a quick rundown. Let me do some quick math in my head. The day I walked out of here, I had a job, right? Just like most of you, if you have any gumption about you, you're gonna have a job when you walk out of here. You have options. I walked out of here and went to work. I went to work the day I graduated. And I had to, because I was married, and my wife was expecting. So I went to work, and I make now over 4 times what I made then. I'm not gonna tell you what I made when I came out, but I made over 4 times what I made then. I almost made 5 times. So don't get caught up in what somebody says they'll pay you today. I mean, that matters, and it has its weight. Everything has to be weighted. It's just like when you're doing least squares or whatever you're doing. All these control points have particular weights, and you can't give it all one weight. Everything's going to get hung on that one thing. What can that company do for you as you progress? What's the potential for you to grow? Not just in a managerial position, but what we were talking about earlier before I came in here. How fulfilled do you think you're going to be at the end of the day? And when you leave work, you may be making a ton of money, but you hate your job. You don't like the people you work with. You don't like the type of work they're doing. That's why it is good to do a co-op, because different companies do different things, and you need to get a good taste of it. And the idea behind growth is you're going to grow. If you get out there and you hit the ground running and you show some initiative, you'll be making a lot more 10, 20, 30 years from the day you graduated than I mean, but just don't get hung up on what can you pay me today. It'll be competitive, what I can pay you today. But where you're going, what can they pay you in 10 years? Where will you be in 10 years? That's my perspective on what that helps anything or hurts anything, you think?
A lot of these guys are country boys.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to leave home.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Any ambition of setting up something in Alabama?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we have several people who are licensed in Alabama. Daryl, who I told you about, he's licensed in Alabama. A group in Norcross, they're licensed in Alabama, and we do work in Alabama, particularly for the Alabama Department of Transportation. We're doing a big job down there on the Mobile Bay Bridge right now. We're on that job, working with that big construction job there. So we don't necessarily have a particular location picked out yet, but if the right person comes along with some initiative, we'll give the backing, because the growth potential is there for the company, and so we just need people to go there and do it. Right now, see, I'm not licensed in Alabama because I don't need to be licensed in Alabama. There's nothing wrong with being licensed in Alabama. It's just that I'm running the survey for everything from Pensacola down to Orlando, and so for me to stretch myself into Alabama would be stretched too thin. But the right person would be very welcome to help us grow in that area. I mean, just where I'm at, Dothan, Alabama, a lot of development, a lot of growth, roadway work and stuff like that. So we look for opportunities like that. I mean, that's where you want to build a market around. So it's there, but yeah, opportunities to grow are there. And like I said, hometown, local, that's me. I mean, Bonifay is only 70 miles from here. That's where I'm from. I came up here, I went right back down there. And I've never worked more than 10 miles from where I grew up. That opportunity is there in this area. So you don't have to, I mean, if you want to go spread your wings and fly, you can. And we can give you that opportunity. I mean, we can take you all the way to California. up into Canada, we can take you all the way up into Maine, wherever the case may be, we can let you go. We can send you that way and you can see if you like it. But if you want to stay at home too, we can give you that. Local stuff. You can be cooking turkeys, you can be skinning a deer, whatever you want. I mean, I like it. I stepped off my back porch the other day. My daughter said, "There's a deer in the backfield, Daddy." And I had some grass planted back there. And there's an 8-point buck standing back there. So I just eased off, propped up against that post under the back porch. There you go. I like that. You don't get that in many places when you go off in bigger cities, but that's there.
Give them an idea about the employment package.
Yeah, so on this benefit package right here, you can see, like most big companies, we're going to have competitive pay rates, paid time off. So when you come in, it's pretty well the standard. You get PTO, so paid time off, you accrue it. You get first 5 years there. You can get up to 3 weeks per year, or you can you accrue 3 weeks per year, but you can get up to 240 in your bank. 240 hours, I should say. 240 hours. We offer a 401k plan, so it's a match plan. You put in, we match it, and you become vested in that. Full health insurance, dental insurance, vision, all that, life insurance, all that's there. As I said before, there is some tuition reimbursement. It's, there's some things we have to agree to there, but that's our general package. All that's very competitive on the sector and the market that we're in. And so it's, along with the hourly pay, you do have benefits that you don't have to work for the rest of your life to keep making that. We give you an opportunity to have a real retirement one day and good health as you're working for us.
The tuition, if they are interested in signing up with that, does it mean that they can do that, or they have to be working with you?
They'd have to be working. It's something that you would have to be an employee at that time. So depending on how much time you have left in here, if you're an employee at that time, and then we map out, it's not 100% paid. I think it's around 30%. They'll reimburse you up to 30%, depending on being an existing employee and continuing for a certain amount of time after that.
What's like the average week for SIT? Was it like hourly and?
Yeah, so, we offer varying schedules. We like to be flexible. Some companies do a 4 10-hour day. So you got Friday, Saturday, you got that 3-day weekend all the time. We've got guys who do both. Or if you want to work 5 8s, that's fine. We don't do a whole lot of, the only time we do weekend surveying is when it really is required. We try to make sure everybody's got their time off. Time off is important. Everybody needs that time where they can take a break, get away from it, start again the next week. So a 4 10 or a 5 8 is there. That's the office folks. Our field crews kind of go wherever the work is needed. Right now they're back on 5 10-hour days. They like it because they get all that overtime. Well, Uncle Sam's going to get some of that too. But they work 5 10-hour days. Before that, they were on 4 10-hour days. And so whatever the year, the environment, the daylight gives them, they work too. And that, that brings up an option too. If you come from here and you say, "Hey, look, I came into surveying because I like the idea of being outside. I don't want to be cooped up in an office." Well, we'll give you that opportunity. If you want to be a crew lead, if you want to lead a crew, or you want to be a manager of multiple crews one day, you say, "Hey, look, I like the field guys. I like that culture they're around. I like being able to get out and see the scenery." That's there too. You don't have to just say, "Well, I got to go sit in an office and draft all day and do computations, do math." You don't have to do that. We give you both options there too. And we give a hybrid too. I mean, same way we said before, with being in a local office and being in a remote location, we do the same thing. We give you that option. If you want to be that hybrid guy that I can do the stuff in the office, whatever you need me to do, and I can do it in the field. I like that one better. I like that guy better. And I try to be that. I tried to do as much field stuff as I could up to a few years ago, and then it was just way too much in the office to stay stuck on that. Because, when a guy calls you and says, "Hey, I'm having this issue," you don't want to have to pass it off. You want to be, well, just click this button, this button, this button, or whatever. It's hard to stay that way. The higher you go in management, it's inevitable. You distance yourself from other things, but you try to stay fresh. As Troy students, I can tell you from experience, you come out leaps and bounds ahead of other people. I mean, really, and there's nothing wrong with experience. I like a guy who, says, I've got 12 years of experience. That's great. I love that. But his upside, more times than not, his or her upside, they've met it. By the yours, when you come out, you just keep going. Your foundation is much bigger. You can build up a lot more. And so it's just a fact. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here. We do some marketing down at the University of Florida. I like the University of Florida, but I'm from Florida. But I'm quick to tell everybody, no, I didn't graduate from Florida. I graduated from Troy. That's where the real surveyors are. And so that's what we look at.
How many trucks you you work on?
Oh, there's probably about a dozen.
And the equipment, all of those valves on Mexico?
Yeah, they've got everything. I mean, when they leave out on a survey truck, I mean, they've got everything in there, equipped, whether it's a survey truck or what we call a designating truck with all the toning equipment and GPR, or a locating vacuum truck. When they leave out every morning, pretty much everybody's got, obviously they've got digital levels, total stations, they've got an RTK unit. They may or may not have a static terrestrial scanner or something like that, depending on what they're going to do that day. But pretty much everybody's got the fundamentals of everything they need. It's fully outfitted. We maintain that the standards, we're having it cleaned and checked, calibrated, so the crews don't have to do that. Obviously, we want them to be mindful. If you see the rod leaning that way and the bubble still looks good, we want you to pay a little bit more attention to that. But we do all that, and so we stay. Anything needs checking, anything needs discarding, we're getting. Yes, it's fully outfitted. Depending on whether the crew chief gets to drive the truck home and go back and forth that way, or he leaves it out of the office, it all depends on what the workload is. Really, what best fits. But there's really no one size fits all, and that's why we try to maintain our approach that way. When somebody comes and wants a job with us, we don't say, well, you got to fit this mold. What can you offer? And we see how it can fit in our environment. If it fits for us and it fits for you, then we go with it. That's the key. That's the key. We're not going to try to make you into something you don't want to be, but you do have to fit somewhat of what we need to be. It's a win-win, but it's a compromise on both sides.
For a co-op, would y'all offer like any sort of housing arrangements or anything?
Yeah, like I say, more times than not, we're probably just going to have you in a hotel. I mean, unless it was more beneficial, if there's a place we could rent and the cost is 6 one, half a dozen another, if we could just rent a place and you're going to be there for months, we'd probably do that. But more times than not, we're fronting the money. We book the hotels, we give you your per diem, and like I say, you'll have the work truck or whatever there, the group you're with, and kind of going in and out from there. But the same way in the office. It's not just field, but if you're in the office and you're down there, we'll put you up in the nearest hotel. Or apartment, whatever the case may be. That's all taken care of. You don't have to front any of that.
So how many are you looking for?
As many want to come. As many want to come. We've got plenty of work coming up. I know right now we're just getting started on the job. Say in Live Oak. Live Oak is right there around Lake City. If you take where Interstate I-10 meets Interstate 75, that's Live Oak. So we've got 9 miles of survey to do for I-10, and then Highway 90 intersects there. We got a mile to do right there. That's about $500,000 worth of survey. And then we've got a job down further down in the Central Florida on State Road 45 from Newberry to High Springs. That's another about $400,000 to $500,000 worth of survey. So that equates into about 6 to 7 months worth of field work for multiple crews. And then obviously, if we figure it's usually a day of field work, it's 6 hours of office. So if they're going to be out there 300 days, that's 1,800 hours of office time. So that's usually spread between multiple people. So that's just some recent awards we got in coupled with what we already have on the books coming up. So the opportunity is there. So when you say how many we want, we'll take them. if you want to work in the field, or you want to work in the office, or you want to do both while you're there. It's available. Anything else?
You are so fortunate to get these opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at your table out there, and, I mean, people were here marketing when I was here, but not like now. That's another statistic I wanted to add to this slide. I don't think I did. No, I didn't. In the state of Florida right now, there are, don't hold me exactly to these numbers, but they're pretty close. There are roughly 2,300 licensed surveyors. That doesn't mean they're living in the state of Florida, but 2,300 people are licensed in the state of Florida. They may have came and got a temporary license or got a license to do a project and they haven't been back in the state. 2,300 people are licensed in the state of Florida. Now get this, 50% of them are 60 years old or older. All right, so in 10 years, half of those people are probably going to either, let's be real, pass away or retire. All right, so half of 2,400, this is 2,400, that's 1,200. We cut it in half. Now, in 10 years, we're going to add some people. But if you look at the history, and it's very easy to look at, the state of Florida usually adds roughly about 50 licensees every year. So that's 500. So that would be 500 plus 1,200, that's 1,700. So we're still way below the 2,400 that we were. That means the demand goes up. That means the money goes up. Right? So I don't know if it's a similar situation in Alabama and Georgia, probably is. I mean, people look at surveying and they think, oh, there's no money in it. I remember my dad saying, why are you going into surveying? Why don't you just be an engineer? Now I can say, well, Dad, this is what the engineers are making, this is what I'm making. So he appreciates the choice that I made. But yeah, it's there. It's there. The demand is going to be there. So all around, I can see why people. It's desperate. It's hard to find good help, and it can be hard to keep good help because there's always somebody asking you, are you happy where you're at? And all it takes is one bad day, and the person asking you this at the right time, and that could make you lose somebody. So we try to keep people happy. But that doesn't mean that the work's not going to be somewhat demanding. I mean, it is. What the Bible says, to whom much is given, much shall be required. If you want a lot of money, you're going to have to earn it too. So just be real. I'm trying to be as straightforward and as real with people as I can. And I should say that too. If you came to work for us and you were working in the Florida area, other than the Fort Myers office, you would be working for the most part directly on me. You'd be hearing my voice or seeing my face probably 70% of the time. So if you think I'm ugly, you probably don't want to come work. But you would be seeing me, and I've trained a lot of people. I've trained geomatics graduates. I've trained people who come straight off the street. I'm currently training a guy right now who had 20 plus years in the field, but he said, hey, look, I don't want to be 60 years old having to be out there in 100-degree weather in the summertime. He said, is there a way in the office for me? Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I actually like him coming into the office. It's actually a good transition because he knows everything that was done in the field and makes a lot more sense to him in the office. And so there again, co-ops are important because when you come back that next semester, after you had a real co-op where you saw some real surveying, the things are just going to make sense to you. The class will make more sense to you and you'll put more in, no doubt. Well, nobody went to sleep. That's good.
All right, well, contact information is there.
And I put some stuff out on the table. There's some cards I went ahead and put out there with my business contact, as well as some smaller cards for teaching. There's stuff for teaching.
But thank you very much. It's very informative, guys. Be very careful. You will be getting a lot of companies coming in and telling you this is what we're offering, but ultimately you're going to make a decision. You're going to make a decision, so it's going to affect your future career. Now, FYI, Byron, he's also selling his son to start programming the course. Alright, so shows how he is vested in a program. Even selling his kid here as well. Similarly, you'll make those sort of decisions. Consider Byron as a possible employer in your career path.
Yeah, right? If you see my son up here, one, make sure he pays himself, and two,
Thank you very much, Byron. Appreciate it.